told you it was going to be a huge news afternoon. I was right. Let's go imminently, urgently to Natasha Clark, LBC's political editor, to break the news. Hi, Natasha. Good to have you on board.
Good afternoon, Vanessa. We've got the news just in the last few minutes that Sadiq Khan, the incumbent Mayor of London, has won a historic third term. We're here at City Hall. We're expecting that eventual declaration and a speech from him in the next half an hour or so, if the timings are still on. And as you know, these things can sometimes slip back a little. But yes, completely as predicted, despite a little bit of a hiccup overnight, it seems like the London Mayor, the Labour candidate, has managed to hold on, despite some suggestions that it was going to be very close. The final numbers still being counted up here, but it looks like he's got a majority of around 200,000 votes. So not really that close at all. And if you compare it to 2021, which was the last time that this mayoral election took place, it was delayed for a year because of the COVID pandemic. If you remember, he had around a similar majority at the time. So it's really not closed down at all, despite some suggestions last night that it might be a little closer. It's all a load of rubbish that it was going to be a lot closer than we thought. So obviously it's a Labour city. Look, that's exactly what we expect from a Labour city. But obviously Sadiq Khan trying to make that historic third term as Mayor of London. We were expecting it to be a little bit closer than this.
Got to say congratulations to Sadiq. Of course, it would be small-minded and pusillanimous not to. But got to say also, Natasha, the line's absolutely lighting up with people who are fuming, spitting tax, furious, couldn't be more annoyed, can't understand it, don't think it's been deserved, and are in many ways absolutely infuriated by this. So do you think that a contributory factor here was the calibre or lack thereof of the Tory candidate Susan Hall? Was that one of the issues?
I think some critics will be saying exactly that, Vanessa. They will be saying why on earth they picked the Tory candidate Susan Hall, who was apparently the strongest candidate out of a long line of candidates to take on this position of the Tory candidate for Mayor of London. Obviously Labour doing very well in the national polls, so we might expect that part of this win is down to the fact that Sir Keir Starmer is leading in the polls. But like you say, there are many people that will be absolutely fuming about this result. Sadiq Khan, it's fair to say, has not had an easy ride as Mayor of London. He faced a huge backlash over his perceived inability to tackle London's knife crime, spending amongst some of his top team, the 20-mile-per-hour zones in London, and of course ULEZ, which played such a part in that Uxbridge by-election upset, which London Labour were expected to win, but the Tory candidate around a year ago squeaked through. So we were expecting to see a little bit more of those in that result. But yes, this will spark conversations within the Tory party about why on earth they could not find a stronger candidate, because there are many people in the Conservative Party that believe that Sadiq Khan, after a long time as London Mayor, that it was possible for someone to beat him. But obviously that's not been the case at all here today. And obviously the Sadiq's key team have been warning for weeks of this campaign that they thought this election was going to be a close run race. But actually they've managed to squeeze out the Greens, they've managed to squeeze the Liberal Democrats down, and even Howard Cox, the Reform candidate who many expected to hoover up some of those anti-ULEZ votes, it's really not made much of a difference at all. And Sadiq Khan on track for that historic third term as Mayor. It's never been done before.
Never been done before, Natasha. I tell you where he may have played a blinder, just judging by the calls this afternoon on LBC, and that is the free school meals gambit. That seems to have been a proper clincher for lots of families, and it really does seem to be, to me, intelligent political strategy. Whether he really means it, doesn't mean it, whether he really wanted to. I mean, it was an alluring promise for families really feeling the pinch.
Of course, we're in a cost of living crisis, and Sadiq Khan, the London Mayor, has very much put this free school meals pledge. He's expanding it to all primary school age children who are not covered by the current free school meals pledge. So yes, of course families are going to enjoy that. But yes, I also think that the fact that Labour are doing well in the polls as well will also do something to cinch that victory. And we were expecting some of that Tory donut in the outer layers of London, in sort of some of those outer boroughs where we have seen Susan Hall Hall has won a few of those boroughs to be doing a little bit better on the back of some of that anti-Khan vote. And we know that there are many people in London, of course, that don't like Sadiq Khan after a long time in power, and he's suffering from obviously being the incumbent candidate for such a long time in very much the same way as Rishi Sunak is as Prime Minister. Some people were fed up and wanted a change, but at the end of the day, people think, nope, we're still going to go for Labour, we're still going to go for Sadiq Khan, and he is one with such a comfortable majority, so it seems his policies still very much favoured in London.
Absolutely. Natasha Clark, political editor, thank you very much indeed. Let's go straight to Derek in Barnet as we all digest the news that Sadiq Khan is Mayor of London for a third term. It's an historic achievement, no question at all. He pulled it off brilliantly well. Doesn't seem to have suffered at all from that Rishi Sunak inertia, that kind of impatience, boredom, frustration with the Tories and their long-term performance, even though he's been the mayor for 8 years, 2 terms so far. He pulled it off very comfortably indeed. All that talk about a very close finish was absolute balderdash. He came out 200,000 votes ahead of Susan Hall, and you might say, looking at her track record, it was hardly surprising. Let's talk to Derek in Barnet about all this. Derek, you're the first caller since the news broke that Sadiq Khan is Mayor of London. How do you feel about that?
Not very good.
Why not? Why not?
I've had direct experience with Sadiq Khan in terms of planning and housing.
Tell me a little bit about it. I'd like to know about that. What happened?
Well, one of your previous callers about half an hour ago was saying how much he's done for housing and all this stuff, which you pushed back on.
I did.
He got kind of aggressive with you, but I mean, I'm a developer in London and develop residential.
Yep.
And I've got so many instances. The one instance was we had a development for 750 flats in Greenwich with 35% social housing,
okay.
which is
very,
really
very
needed.
badly needed. Absolutely.
And the plan is, because Momentum was in control of the planning department, it's all political, rejected the planning 11-0, saying it looked like Stalingrad. Sadiq Khan called it in and said, you can't reject this planning. And we went through a consultation period with them for like 30 days and increased the social housing to 40%. And then he was turned by the community and he rejected it again.
Huh. And tell me something, did it look like Stalingrad?
No, it didn't.
And what did it? Well, you tell me what it did look like.
It looked like a nice housing development for the area. But, we've also had a side with TfL, which he's in control of. And, they behaved so badly and didn't react. And they would have, first of all, increased housing, increased jobs. They would have been paid a lot of money. And because of his influence, we didn't get there.
Huh.
And, I mean, I've got so many where I've had to go to appeal. It's cost me money and time, and he's lost every time.
And tell me why. What do you think the motivation is? Because obviously he must be, just like all Londoners and all those who want to come to London, desperate for housing. And the shortage is not just acute, it's absolutely chronic. There's a housing famine. So why would there be a kind of an urge to sabotage in this way? Why?
I've got no idea other than it's very political. And he gets influenced by different people. I know a lot of people in the same game as me. We all feel the same way. I mean, if you speak to any person that's trying to increase the housing in this country, we might be capitalists and, out there to make money, but, we are fulfilling a need.
Well, listen, if you try and be a capitalist and you're not fulfilling a need, you won't make any money. So you've got to be both. Otherwise, it's not going to work, is it? So tell me something, because what we're hearing in various areas is money being taken out of London, money that we badly need in London. We need to kickstart the economy in London and all over the rest of the country too. But we're hearing about big organisations taking their money elsewhere. Are you prompted to develop elsewhere and just forget it in London? Are you prompted to do that? And are your fellow developers feeling the same way?
Yeah, I mean, I've stopped. I won't do another transaction where it involves planning.
Really?
As a result of the experience that I've had.
Okay.
It's been very bad. And
that is very, very
bad
bad news for London, isn't it? Very bad news.
Yeah, it's not just, it's for the whole economy. It's the jobs and, that are created.
So does that mean you've taken up gardening and you're tending your prize marrows, or does that mean you're going to develop stuff elsewhere? Properties in another place?
Maybe a little of both.
Really? Wow.
But yeah, It hasn't been a good experience with the guy, and I think for your previous caller to say that he's built 100,000 homes and all that, I would like to see the stats on that. I don't think that's true.
Okay, well, thanks, Derek, very much indeed for the call. Derek sounding quite despondent there. Tried several times because he is a property developer, almost apologising there for being a capitalist. I'm not quite sure why. Doesn't need to apologise to me for that under any circumstances at all. He wants to make a living, that's fine with me. If he wants to supply people with what they want, that is fine with me. Why Sadiq Khan would have kiboshed his plans to build housing developments with 35-40% social housing, that I don't understand. Lacking the will, but why? Let's talk to Elliot, who's on the line in Lambeth. Hello, Elliot. Thank you for ringing. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Vanessa, and welcome to LBC.
Thank you so much. It's very kind of you. Everybody's very polite to me at the moment. I don't know how long that's going to last, but I do appreciate it. Good old-fashioned courtesy is very nice. So we have the news, the breaking news. Sadiq Khan, Mayor of London. How do you feel?
Yeah, it's great news.
Oh, you're pleased. Good. Why are you pleased?
Absolutely.
Why?
I live in West Norwood, and we would pretty much just a few minutes outside of the old ULEZ zone.
Uh-huh.
And we unbelievably noticed the difference in quality of air, the reduction in traffic since the expanded ULEZ. And
really? Describe how it affected your life, or how you when you say unbelievably we noticed it, what did you see? What was happening?
So we live on a quite a busy road, and the traffic at times can be quite heavy. And since the expanded ULEZ, and it's not just myself that's commented on this, neighbours have said the same, the road is a lot quieter.
Yeah.
And it's refreshing to know that the cars that predominantly 9 out of 10 of the cars, if the statistics are true, that are driving down the road now are ULEZ compliant, and therefore you'd expect to be relatively clean. And it just feels better. It's hard to quantify.
And if you take a big old lung full of air, can you feel that what you're breathing is a quality product? You're not breathing something full of nasty carbon monoxide. You're breathing something full of just, the Scottish heather and delightful kind of ethereal wafts of breeze. I mean, what's happening when you breathe? Tell me.
So it's really comparable to a darker time in COVID when traffic was reduced massively, and again it felt cleaner at that time.
That's
there was
true.
less
It
traffic
did.
on the road.
Absolutely, yes.
So I think you can feel it, and I think that the truth is, and this is, it's a complex truth, that poor air quality disproportionately affects poorer areas, working class people, and that is a complex argument to make. It's always going to be a complex argument to make, but it is the truth, and I think in the longer term, ULEZ would be the best thing that's happened to most Londoners. And actually, interestingly, we've pulled into a service station. We're driving up for a wedding, but there are almost as many electric charging points in this car park that I'm sat in as normal car parking spots. So I genuinely think this will be a non-issue in a few years anyway.
Sounds as if you're describing an eco-friendly, paradisial, verdant nirvana, and you're just pulling into a motorway service station. But the way you describe it, it sounds magnificent. We'd all like to join you at the wedding. Listen, Elliot, lovely to hear from you. Thank you very much indeed for calling. Elliot a satisfied customer. Delighted that Mayor Khan is going to be there for another term, a third term as Mayor of London. Elliot is happy. He can breathe. The traffic has lightened. It's easier. And there he says there's all those points for charging up your electric vehicle. He's living his best life, and he's going to a wedding as well. So what about you, though? How do you feel about this?